Well, hello. I popped up there too quick. Welcome to One Man's Faith. My name is Neal Owen, in case you didn't realize that. And we're going to look at the Word of God again, as we normally do, and see what God has for us in these words. You know, this is a kind of a really important time of year. Not for us as much as it is for our Jewish brothers and sisters, because we just entered into the first month of the religious year, which is called the month of Nisan. And on the 14th of April, because of the way the Jewish calendar and our calendar fell, will be Passover. And they will be celebrating one of the 7 feasts that God required of them. 3 of those feasts, they had to go to the city that God designated when they moved into the land of Israel, which happened to be Jerusalem. So 3 times a year, all males were required to go to Jerusalem. The first time is on Passover. The second time is at what's called the Feast of Weeks, or Pentecost. And the third time was for the Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot, which occurs in our time frame around end of September, beginning of October. So we're entering into that time that we celebrate what we normally call Easter. I'm changing that for me, and it's Resurrection Sunday, because that's when, at that time, 2,000 years ago, Jesus was resurrected. He died at Passover. He arose 3 days later, which happened to fall on what's called the first day of the week. And it's called that because it's the day after the 7th day, which is, in a sense, Saturday. Okay? And so he arose on Sunday. And that time period is coming for us kind of at the end of the Passover time. Passover starts on the 14th and ends, well, Passover starts on the 14th, and then the next day is the Feast of Unleavened Bread, which goes for 7 days. And so our Resurrection Sunday will occur on the 20th this month. And just since I'm mentioning that, let me just say, Resurrection Sunrise Service will be on the 20th at 6:30 at Petrick Park. This is where we normally have it. It'll be at the basketball court. And you're welcome. Any Christian is welcome to come, or non-Christian if they want to come. And we're going to celebrate the resurrection morning. We're having a Resurrection Sunrise Service. So you are more than welcome. In fact, I gladly invite you to come to this celebration, because it's an open Church of Pahrump celebration for those that aren't having their own. We always have a community sunrise service, and so that's what that's going to be on the 20th, which is Resurrection Day, or as we like to call it, Easter. Maybe one of these days I'll go over why, but that term associates itself too much with the dark side. And so really Easter came after resurrection. And so that's what's coming. But I just want to say, you know, Passover is something that we will celebrate even after Jesus comes. It's a perpetual feast, just like Sukkot and the Feast of Weeks, Pentecost. And so to me, it's good to know what Passover is about and to celebrate it. And it just so happens that we're going to be celebrating Passover on the 12th, this coming Saturday. So if you're available, we want to invite you. It's $5 a person, or $10 for a family. So come on out, and we're going to celebrate Passover. Rabbi Paul Cohen is going to lead us through this thing, and it takes us through how Israel became free. And it parallels our becoming free as Christians. And so it's always good to celebrate Passover. So 6 o'clock on the 12th at New Hope, and Rabbi Paul Cohen will be there to officiate that also, and they're going to, it's going to be a good time. We're going to have chicken. It'll be a meal. So it's called a Passover Seder, or a Passover meal. So I want to invite you to come as we celebrate the freedom given to Israel, 4,000 years ago, when they came out of Egypt. And God gave them appointed times. It says, "Speak to the sons of Israel and say to them, the Lord's appointed times which you shall proclaim as holy convocations. My appointed times are these." And God's saying it's His appointed times. "For 6 days work shall be done, but on the seventh it shall not. In the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at twilight is the Lord's Passover. Then on the 15th day of the same month is the feast of unleavened bread for the Lord. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread." When we come out of the world and we are born again, it's a time that we are free from. You confess with your mouth Jesus is Lord and believe in your heart that God raised Him from the dead, you will be saved. You see, to be saved, you got to accept Him as Lord. And that's what this whole thing starts. On it just happens that that Nisan 1 was April 1st. And so our April calendar this year falls in line. And so on April 14th, which will be Nisan 14th, will be Passover. And interestingly, there's going to be a special effect in the stars on that day for Passover and Feast of Tabernacles this year and next. There is going to be a special lunar eclipse that is supposed to turn the moon red in color. They call it a blood moon. And it just so happens that on these two feasts this year and next, on Passover and the Feast of Tabernacles, there is going to be a lunar eclipse that is called a blood moon. Now, that normally is a sign that something is going to happen. We don't know what. We'll just have to wait and see. And I don't think it's going to be just because it falls on this Passover, but I think it's the culmination of falling on Passover and Sukkot in each year that we're going to see something happen. All right, well, we need to take a break. Go ahead and get that cup of coffee, and I'll be right back.